Hello there. My name's Josh Farr, and in this video, I'm going to tell you about our Study Queensland Innovation Challenges that ran from 2024 to 2025. Why should you watch and listen to this video all the way to the end? Well, if you're a student who's thinking about participating in a challenge, this is going to tell you exactly what you're in store for and hopefully get you really excited, keen to come, and keen to tell your friends. If you're thinking about hosting an innovation challenge, this is going to show you a little bit about how we structure and put it together and hopefully show you the value. And if you're an employer thinking about participating in the future, this will show you what your role is and how to get involved. So, a couple of things. Do innovation challenges work? What do they produce? In this video, I'm going to talk about four different innovation challenges, and I'm also going to share with you some of the examples of the winning teams. I'm going to talk to you about how that works in a moment, including four different pitch decks from four different cities showing the winning teams and their great ideas. So, firstly, does it work for students? Does it get the results it wants? Well, the whole purpose of running an innovation challenge from a student perspective is to help them understand their employability, their career readiness, and develop skills. At the end of it, they get a signed certificate. In 2 clicks, they can add it to a LinkedIn page, which is amazing. But first and foremost, we want to make sure it is effective at improving their career readiness and their skills. So, some statistics across all of the challenges that were run from 2024 to 2025. Firstly, 94% of students who participated, and we had over 120 students complete the entire program, 94% of students said they were satisfied or very satisfied. And this is no small feat. Students came along from about 8:30 in the morning to between 3 and 5 p.m. We tried some different links. We found that a little bit shorter worked. 94% of students who spent an entire day meeting new people, working with employers, were really satisfied with the event. 90% of students said that participating had a significant or modest or significant increase in their career readiness. That means 9 out of 10 students who completed the program also felt more ready for their career. 96% of students said that it had an impact on where they might work in the future. So I want you to imagine that. Imagine there's 100 students lined up. 96 of them, by doing this one day activity, said that this one program had an impact on where they'll go in the future. And the last point on skills, we looked at four different skills: communication, teamwork, creativity, and problem solving. And across those four different skills, 94% of students said they had an increase or significant increase by the end of the day. So we know it works for students, we know it's super effective. Does it work for employers? Well, fortunately, we got very similar results from employers. We had nearly 90% of students saying, employers saying they were satisfied or very satisfied. 100% of employers were satisfied with the structure of the day, and 100% of employers would recommend participating in an innovation challenge in the future. So it works for students, it works for employers. Why do I tell you that right at the start? Because if you're thinking about participating in one or hosting one, before you understand what it is, I want you to be reassured that it works. We've now run these four different times across Queensland, on the Gold Coast, Townsville, Toowoomba, and then the Sunshine Coast. And in the rest of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. I'm going to share the presentation from the day so you can get a bit of an insight, and I'm going to share some of the slide decks. So let's get right into it. If you come along to an innovation challenge, what do you see? Where do you begin? Let's just share my little screen here. Here we go. Cool. So, what do you see? First thing you see when you walk in the door, and I should note that these are free for students to participate in. This is a slide deck from our Sunshine Coast version. When students walk in the door, the first thing that they see is a QR code up on the screen. So we welcome them, we give them name tags, all that good stuff. But really crucially, they see a QR code. And at the start of the day, students are recording their self-perception of their skills and their confidence and their readiness. This is what helps us do a start of day and end of day survey. And this is really, really important. Up on the Sunshine Coast, we then had Serena, who's the director of Study Queensland, welcome and kick off the event, talk a little bit about all the amazing things that Study Queensland does, talk about the employability program, Talent Ed, and the three different pillars. At the end of that introduction, I then jump up and explain how the day works. So the point of an innovation challenge is for real employers to bring real problems to students to help those students gain experience, but also for the students to go back to the employers by the end of the day in this pitch presentation right at the end and present their solutions. So the value for employers is they get new ideas and fresh ideas to real world problems. And the value for students is they get real experience working with a real employer, a chance to work in a team. So we run them through how the day works. It starts off with about an hour and a half on the challenge. They meet the employers and they get to understand what the challenges are. Secondly, after they have a bit of a networking break, they then spend about an hour and a half on the solution. I'll show you exactly how we do this in this video. In this part of the day, they come up with a range of different solutions and design thinking skills such that when they've completed this part of the day, they can pick their number one solution to go forward with. After lunch, they then put together a preparation and a pitch. When they put this pitch together, they're going to create some of the really short slide decks. I'm going to show you some today to summarize their thinking and also to present to a panel of judges. After the afternoon break, and you'll notice lots of breaks so people can get up and get moving. After the afternoon break, the judges come in, and that's when a panel of judges who are sort of local leaders and influencers in the area, there might be in education, government, for-profit, non-profit, they might be involved with universities or TAFEs. A panel of judges come in to hear all of the ideas. Now, they haven't been here for the whole day, so they get a really fresh set of eyes on the projects and on the innovation. So, how does this work? Well, let's just jump forward to some of the challenges. So, on the Sunshine Coast, we had five amazing employers present these five challenges. The theme on the Sunshine Coast was all about keeping talent and engaging talent in the local area. So, Sunshine Coast was how do we attract Gen Z workforce? Sunshine Coast Health Institute, where we actually hosted the challenge on the Sunshine Coast, was about reducing emergency department length of stay. Some really interesting statistics in terms of what that has in terms of quality of in terms of likelihood of safety when someone comes into the emergency room. So if they stay longer in the emergency department, that actually has a negative influence. We want to make sure that people get through from the emergency department to get the support they need. So some really interesting insights there. Allied health team being recognized in the community. Arcare was looking at their development opportunities to attract talent. And then Lifespan was looking at some digital tools and AI. So very different challenges that were presented, and we really pressed the employers to summarize them into a question into just one sentence. So once the students heard these challenges and met the employers, they then got to form teams. So what was cool about forming the teams was they were with students who they'd never met before today. They got to move around the room and do some speed networking. And when they came together for a team, they were ultimately with a group of people who they didn't know before, but had complementary skills. So we asked them to think about the different skills they could bring to the table and to pick a challenge that was maybe a little bit different and outside their comfort zone. They then had a little bit of time before morning tea to quiz their mentors. So to sit down with their employers who became their mentors for the day, to ask them about the challenges, to dig into the data, and to really get a good sense of it. Now, when they came back from the morning tea break, we jumped into solution ideation. So we jammed on four different concepts, four different ways to solve a problem, products and services, and digital and physical. And we got some examples from where people had spent money in recent times. So, for example, a physical product might be a cup of coffee. We said, okay, well, if you had to create a physical product to solve that problem, what might it be? Is it a flyer? Is it a poster? Is it a t-shirt? Is it a pop-up stall? And we had students come up with ideas across all four of these areas over about half an hour. What was really cool was if they ever got stuck, they used some of the AI tools to stretch their ideas out and come up with something even if it wasn't immediately obvious. Once they picked their best idea, we got them to boil it down into a sentence and did a process called ICE. So assessing their solutions based on what had the most impact, what they were confident they could deliver, and what was easy, aka didn't use too many resources. This was a really great chance to go back to the employers and just sense check what they were doing. As we moved throughout the day, we then had them stretch their ideas out with AI. So we gave them 6 different ChatGPT or AI prompts to say, here's our idea. Now, what if we had an unlimited budget? What if we had no budget? And as we got them to stretch it in these 6 different ways, you might notice that the 6 questions are in themes. The first 2 are about money, the second 2 are around time, and the third 2, number 5 and 6, are about resources or about people. And the 3 resources we put to the students as most important are money, time, and people. So getting them to think in that way was a bit of an insight into how we solve problems in the workforce. Once they'd done that, we had them sum up their ideas into an action plan. Then we had a nice long lunch break on the Sunshine Coast. We had it catered by a group called Fishbowl, really, really good. And Numi, who helped us out on the day, who was our casual event assistant officer on the day, also an amazing ambassador with the Sunshine Coast, Study Sunshine Coast, I should say. She works at Fishbowl, and so in talking about the event locally, we really wanted to support, obviously Fishbowl works nationally, but support one of our staff members who was there and where she works. So it was really cool to get some great catering, and that was a massive, massive hit. When we came back from lunch, we then talked to the students a little bit about how their solutions would be judged. So we looked at the challenge of the problem, the solution they came up with, practicality of that action plan, and then we were assessing teamwork and communication skills, how the judges felt that each team member contributed and shared. Finally, we got them to put their projects together. So this is where I might jump in and actually show you 1 or 2 of the projects. And this is a little pitch deck that they put together in about an hour. So it's pretty impressive. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what they looked like. So Where we sent them to was our little Google Sheet. So we created this on the Gold Coast and we had a whole range of different student teams jump in. So I'll show you the first one, Justice League. They were actually the winners of the pitch challenge on the Gold Coast. So here they are, really cool. You'll notice they come from different countries. So India, China, Australia, Colombia, Nepal, Vietnam. So across 6 different countries, very, very cool, with their employer of choice on the day. So here we go, Department of Justice and Attorney General. And then they talked a little bit about their partner and their problem. So the problem that was presented was developing a graduate program to attract a diverse range of talent. So basically, have students tell you how to run a great grad program. Very creative idea. They talked about the different goals of the program, and then they came up with an action plan. So, given that they only had an hour to put this together and only a day to work on it, they built a whole action plan of how to rethink the digital tools that the department was using and then put a curriculum planner together, not only to map this out over 2 years, but to also look at physical events to drive up talent and how to put that together in a digital app to kind of bring it all into one place. Really, really cool. So I'll show you another one. Let's jump over to, let's say, the Sunshine Coast and Sunshine Coast Health Institute. This was the team that won on the Sunshine Coast. So we jump on in, 4 different team members here, partnering with Sunshine Coast Health Institute, and they were really looking at an AI solution to deal with that problem that we talked right about at the start, like emergency room waits. And their idea was reducing the demands, some really achievable goals. And they created this really cool algorithm where they said, all right, well, what we're going to do is get people to self-assess when they come in. Basically, you get an iPad when you walk in the door or something like the equivalent. You get a bit of an understanding of whether you're low risk or high risk. And then, depending on your answers to those screening questions, you then get told whether obviously you need to stay, whether you don't, whether you need to get rushed into another room. And the whole point of the process was to speed it up and to make it more efficient. They then talked in quite a little bit of detail about what they learned from their employer, and ultimately they were picked as the winner of the challenge. So I could show you the different ones from Toowoomba and Townsville as well. I might show you one more. Here's one from Toowoomba. So this was called Crop Connect. So with a local partner, which was really, really great. The students actually made their own logo by the end of it, which was quite cool. For students, they were working with Pacific Seeds, so an agricultural partner. The goal was attracting international students to casual work. They went and actually did some research and found out that a lot of students aren't aware of the casual jobs in the area, which was quite creative. And then they came up with a mobile app solution, which they actually mocked up in the session. They said, wouldn't it be cool if it was like LinkedIn Jobs or Seek, but specifically for casual work that students could use on their phone, apply for jobs. They put some mock-ups of what it would look like in there, some preferences, and they even had a little bit of promotion and marketing plans, which was quite cool. So when we bring all of that together, where that lands us then in the day, and remember, all those pictures were created in 1 hour, the whole thing happened in one day. The students then shared their presentation link, they practiced with another team or with their own team, had a quick little afternoon tea break, and then it was time for pitch presentations. So everywhere we went, we customized the pitch deck on the Sunshine Coast. These were our 5 amazing judges, which is very, very cool. A huge, diverse range of experience and lots of years worth of experience as well. The students pitched their projects in just a couple of minutes, and then the judges crowned their winners for the day. So when we put all of this together, that's the Innovation Challenge. The Innovation Challenge works by getting a huge group of students together from all different backgrounds, from first year to PhD, to form teams to work with real employers on real problems. And at the end of the day, one of the things that we did, I might just show you very quickly, some of the photos. So we had students coming together, obviously from lots of different backgrounds, which was great. But what we want to make sure they do is they get a lot of bang for their buck. So at each of the events, we had a professional photographer come in and take a whole range of different photos of the day, including right at the end, all the students pitching, which we know from social media, one of the things that students love the absolute most is the photos of them pitching and sharing, which is quite cool. They're sharing them all over social media. Here's some photos of the judges. So we set them up in the middle of the room, watching all the pitches as they occurred. And then at the end, we also had all the teams get a photo with their employers. So this was the winning team. The photo here, which is lovely, with the Sunshine Coast Health Institute with their employers, so one on each end. And these students didn't know each other before the day. By the end, they presented a really amazing project. So we share big group, smiling group photo, which everybody loves, as well as, I am tucked in at the back, as well as sharing these photos with the students. So they blasted it all over social media, which was really, really cool to see. We use students a lot and utilize students a lot in terms of promoting the challenge and getting students to sign up in the first place, as well as after the event. They are really, really active in promoting. I might even just show you one very quickly if it'll let me share my screen. Here we go. It's part of our annual report. So this is publicly shared. So Kino, student on the day, came along. This was at Toowoomba specifically, and there's photos of him working as a team, photos of him pitching, photos of that group shot. So what we really want to showcase for the students is they can share with employers, this is who I am, this is what I do, these are the skills I've participated in, and it was really great. Just like looking at the tags there, Southern Queensland, Study Queensland, Campus Consultancy, Statum, the employer. So that's government, university, private enterprise, local business, all working together to deliver a really cool result. And I won't say too much more about the work with Statum just yet, Jaden and Will. They're actually really productive in helping us promote, but there are some really exciting projects happening with them and their project moving forward. So they're actually really quite keen to keep their project going, and they've got some creative things happening back of house there. So, innovation challenges. If you're a student and you're watching this and you've signed up to an innovation challenge or you're thinking about one, I hope this has given you a bit of an overview of what to expect. No preparation is required. It's open to absolutely anybody. You can bring your friends. We hope to see you there. If you're an employer who signed up and you're like, okay, I wanted to know what to expect, your big role in the prep, and we'll do a prep screening call with you before you come along, is thinking of a really good challenge. What was something that you'd love students to get stuck into for the day? What do you think is interesting? And the more real and the more specific, the better. And then finally, if you're thinking about hosting an innovation challenge, I hope this has shown you a little bit about how we structure it. There are lots of different ways that you could go about a day like this, but fundamentally, you need employers and students, you need a problem, you need some sort of brainstorming process to come up with a solution, and then you need a way to present those solutions. And we try to do it in a really fun and really interactive way, which hopefully the data indicates is effective. So if this is something that's appealing to you, please reach out. Send me an email, josh@campusconsultancy.org. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. You can send me an email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Josh Farr, Farr on LinkedIn. Let me know what you're thinking. And if you signed up, employer or student, we hope to see you there. And if you're thinking about running one in the future, please reach out and have a chat. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope this answered all your questions, and drop down in the comments below if there's anything I haven't answered, and I'll get back to you straight away.